Are you a lifelong fan of General Hospital?
Are you a new fan who wants to know more about the history of the show?
Do you enjoy talking about the show with others?
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV?
Is your self-care an hour a day in Port Charles?
If so, we invite you to join hosts
Amanda Kimmel
and Shannon Coach at the place where all the hidden conversations take place and secrets are revealed.
Meet us at Pier 54,
a General Hospital fan podcast. Hello!
Hi!
Welcome to the Port Charles 411. Today we are talking about the legendary Lesley Webber, Laura's mom.
I'm so excited.
I am too. And unlike ones in the past, we're kind of doing this how we used to do it. We did not watch any YouTube because she's been on since 1973.
Yeah.
And she used to be a more substantial character than what we just recently saw.
She was a way more substantial character, and that was all when we weren't around.
Right.
We weren't even alive at that time, which is funny because I tried to YouTube for like a second, and it instantly went to 1980, 81, and it went from her to Frank Smith, and the guy that played Frank Smith was the guy that played Henry on Punky Brewster. I know!
Oh my gosh!
Right?
I'm going to have to go back and check that. See, yeah.
So
I tried to start because if you put in like the year,
yeah.
1973 didn't come up, but I feel like the 70s, but then it would say like Rick Webber and stuff like that. And I feel like we know stuff about Lesley's background.
We do.
From having watched, but we're kind of doing this completely rogue today too, where neither one of us have read this stuff.
Right. We're just going to have to assume that it's right. I mean, some stuff Laura may have contradicted and we know, but
right.
To go back and watch, I feel like we would have needed 6 months because I couldn't only watch that. I would get pulled into all the rest of the storylines because we've never seen any of that. It's a brand new show at that point.
And I hate to say it, but it's not like she's Anna and how we dedicated that entire month to Anna. She's not on the show anymore.
Right.
But stuff that, like we had said on Monday's episode, we were going to talk about David Hamilton, and then Lesley came on the show, and we're like, okay, you know what? We could just do Lesley because it would cover everything.
Right.
So we're going to talk about Lesley, hope that it fills in some blanks. Stuff is probably going to be wrong because we know that we have in the past caught mistakes, but we're using generalhospitalfandom.com, how we have in the past. I would say it's pretty darn accurate. This is a very thorough write-up, so
but if there are mistakes, tell us because I want to know. I want to know what we're
want to know what we're really doing. Yeah,
exactly. Because it's a whole new, not a whole new character, but a whole new world for us here.
Yep. So, Dr. Lesley Webber, MD, is played by Denise Alexander from 1973 through 1984 on contract, and then from 1996 to 2009 to recurring. I didn't realize it was until 2009 for recurring. And then she has returned in 2013, 17, 19, and most recently, 2021.
And that's awesome that it's been the same actress the entire time.
Yep. And, fun fact, she previously played Lauryn Hill in May 1965. So she had played another character.
Oh my God.
Which, it sounds like it was a short-lived, but remember, Chloe Lanier had been on as a young Carly.
True.
Before coming on as Nell.
Right.
So I want to do a deep dive on how many actors were on the show playing other characters before they were actually brought on as whoever it is that they are.
Right.
Because I'm sure that there's a lot. Some people are just so, wow.
Yeah, they have to bring them back.
Yeah. So actress Denise Alexander originated the role of Dr. Lesley Williams in March 1973. And in 1976, although Time magazine panned General Hospital at the time, Alexander's character Lesley was noted as the serial saving grace, which I think is funny because Jeannie Francis is credited with the same thing like a decade later.
Right.
Or a couple years later, actually. When Alexander and the network could not agree to contractual negotiations, the character was killed off in March 1984. Angry fans picketed the studio, upset that the character had died. That's really all we're going to get into before we get into the to the story. But I thought that it was important to note that she was.
It took them a long time to bring her back.
Yeah.
After fans were that upset,
because we remember when Lesley came back,
right,
alive,
right, and didn't know that she was supposed to be dead until the storyline explained that.
Yep. So in the 1970s, Lesley Williams arrived in Port Charles. This says 1972, but we just read many times up above 1973. So, and began work as a cardiologist at General Hospital. Leslie's first patient was a woman named Florence Gray. Florence was suffering from stomach ulcers that she thought were brought on by the stress of her failing marriage with Gordon Gray. Florence was then sent to the hospital psychiatrist, Dr. Peter Taylor, and told him about her husband's affairs years earlier with a student in his class. Gordon had gotten the girl pregnant, and the child presumably died shortly after birth. When Peter told Lesley about Florence and her history, Lesley realized that she was that very student. Gordon Gray then returned and confessed his love to Lesley and was willing to leave his wife. However, Lesley convinced him to stay with Florence, and they left town soon after. So that's what Cyrus is talking about when they had to pack up and move, and therefore that's why he's horrible, because he had to move at one point in his life.
Could you imagine if they would have got back together, though?
Oh, my gosh.
And then had another kid?
Oh,
that would have been some good story.
Get writing on that fan fiction.
Right.
Lesley later married millionaire Cameron Faulkner.
Wow.
Who's that?
I don't know.
And Cameron, but that was also, so Lesley is Cam's great-grandmother.
Right.
But that's not the Cameron that he's named after.
No.
He's named after his dad's dad, his grandfather. So not the same guy. Anne discovered that the daughter she thought had died at birth was in fact alive and was only living miles away from Leslie's house. Lesley researched and found her daughter, Laura, was living with her adopted parents, the Vinings. Lesley was desperate to see Laura, but was ordered from her husband never to make contact with her. So Lesley followed her daughter to the park one day, and they spoke for the first time. Laura went home and told her sister, Amy Vining, about the woman in the park who promised to bring her many gifts. The Vinings were very protective of Laura and discovered that Lesley was in fact Laura's biological mother and swore never to give up their claim to their daughter. And she was was she a teenager? I thought she was like 12-ish when Lesley found her. But if you look in this picture, she looks a little older. So maybe she was like 15, 16? I don't know. Okay.
Playing in the park, you assume that she's a little bit younger.
Okay, so maybe she was 12. Maybe, for whatever the reason, that number just sticks in my mind. Laura was thrilled at the fact that Lesley was her mom, and Lesley herself soon filed for custody. I don't feel like that's how adoption works.
No.
Did it ever in the past?
Oh my God, I hope not, because that would be ridiculous.
But I feel like I don't know, because my aunt is only 4 years older than me, so she would have been adopted in the 70s.
Okay.
But she wasn't of that age.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know if her parents ever tried to go back for her. Foster care can do that.
Right.
But straight up adoption, I mean, her name was Laura Vining.
Yeah.
And, fun fact, her sister Amy Vining is actually who our beloved Nurse Amy is also mirrored after, because the actress who portrayed Amy Vining passed away.
But her character was crazy and funky, just like our current
The
Amy.
exact same, yes. Oh, we should compare the two.
Oh, that would be fun.
That would be fun. So after Laura was granted a week to stay under her mother's roof, she decided to stay with Lesley indefinitely, because when Laura fell ill, Lesley thought the illness could be emotional-based and made the decision to send Laura back to the Vinings. Oh, that must have been tough for her.
Yes.
Lesley's husband Cameron was thrilled and determined to keep Laura out of his life, so he paid a nurse to convince Lesley that Laura was actually not her daughter.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, the original lab test confusion. Lesley didn't fall for it, so Cameron paid the Vinings a great deal of money to move far away. Cameron tried to convince Lesley to move on with her life, but Lesley wouldn't have it. You cannot convince a woman to move on from her child.
Right.
Oh. And she soon learned that her husband had paid the Vinings to leave and go far away. Cameron finally snapped and kidnapped Lesley. However, during a struggle, while Cameron was driving, Lesley grabbed the wheel and the car lunged off the road, killing Cameron. Oops. Oh my gosh. All right.
Oops.
You want to talk about how she moved on after that?
Does it say like 2 days later? I feel like they accidentally kill a lot of people.
I mean,
how many people have you accidentally killed in your lifetime?
None that I know of.
And then your children went on to accidentally kill people. I feel like the judges would be a little suspicious there.
Yeah.
So while grieving her husband, Lesley met Dr. Rick Webber. Rick was trying to stay away from his brother. Rick was trying to stay away from his brother Jeff's wife, Monica.
Who is our current Monica.
I like the way they're trying to stay away. Like,
yeah.
She just is tempting him too much.
Well.
So Rick spent much time with Lesley and comforted her after she miscarried her late husband's baby. Wasn't that not his baby? I feel like there was a conversation somewhere.
I thought that it wound up being Rick's.
Was that how that went?
But this is saying that she was pregnant when she met Rick.
Right. I didn't think that was...
I don't know.
Wrong. I could be wrong, because again...
We could be smushing another character.
Very true. Monica became jealous over how much time Rick spent with Lesley.
You have Jeff!
And confronted Lesley, warning her to stay away from Rick and that they were having an affair. Who wasn't Monica having an affair with at that point in time? Lesley wasn't sure whether to believe Monica, but she knew that she loved Rick very much. Rick also was becoming closer to Lesley and even volunteered to help her find her daughter Laura. When Rick and Lesley found Laura, Lesley was hoping for a joyful reunion, but Laura had grown into a teenager. There you go.
Oh, so Jeannie Francis didn't originate the role of Laura. That's right. That's right.
There you go. She'd grown into a teenager and didn't want to live with Lesley and wanted nothing to do with her. Laura believed that Lesley didn't care about her when the Vinings had taken her away. Rick then sat Laura down, convincing her that both her mothers loved her. Lesley was so grateful for Rick's effort. Rick then confessed his love for Lesley and proposed. Lesley was shocked and agreed to be his wife. Really? You were shocked? I feel like you were hanging out an awful lot to be shocked. But this goes back to why Monica and Lesley constantly are at each other's throats. And I love those scenes. These are the scenes I would like to go back and watch from back then because they're so good together now whenever they're being nasty to each other. When Rick's old college roommate David Hamilton moved into the Webber's house, Lesley didn't trust him from the start. Laura, however, was very open to David, and after rebelling against Lesley, she and her mother decided to make peace. David, however, didn't help things and would cause a rift between Lesley and her daughter again. David became obsessed with Lesley and soon made a pass at her, which Lesley rejected.
Good girl.
After he was rejected by Lesley, David moved on to her daughter, Laura. That's so gross. Laura and David then began a secret romantic relationship. But really, David was only using Laura to hurt Lesley and Rick.
That's even worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she would have been, young.
Right. Very young.
Young. Laura and David's relationship grew.
And he was definitely an adult if his college roommate was married to her mother.
Right. Laura and David's relationship grew, and Laura asked David to take her away from Port Charles. David finally told Laura that he didn't care about her, but loved her mother. Laura was angry and pushed David, causing him to fall and hit his head, accidentally killing him. Mother, like daughter. Lesley later found David's body and in an effort to protect Laura, confessed to killing David. Laura blocked the terrible night from her memory. She was sent to counseling with Peter Taylor and was able to recall killing David. Feeling guilty, Laura ran away from home, but was later tracked down and brought home by Scott Baldwin.
Scotty. I hate that they shortened his name to Scott. Especially back then, he was Scotty.
He was a kid, so he would have been Scotty. But
he's still Scotty.
No, I don't except for when Bobby calls him Scotty. But
that's the thing. Okay, yeah, it would be weird if a newer character called him Scotty.
If Finn's like, hey, Scotty, tomorrow.
No, he is Scott. Okay. But when we're referring to young him and Laura, it's Scotty.
Yes. She confessed to murdering David, and the charges against Lesley were dropped. Laura was sentenced to 6 months probation and was released into Lesley and Rick's custody. After Lassa fever hit GH.
We talked about that with somebody.
Okay.
We did, because I remember that we looked it up.
Okay.
It was either Laura or, I don't know. Okay. But I remember that we looked it up.
Rick and Monica slept together. Monica wanted to be with him, but Rick told her that they needed time away from each other to be sure of their feelings. It's funny how he comes to that after they hook up. When Laura was in a car accident, Rick came back to his senses and he told Monica they were over for good. Monica then reconciled with her husband, Alan, and discovered that she was pregnant.
That was the one that was we didn't know who the dad was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lesley and Rick pondered themselves whether they should have a baby. Unfortunately, Lesley was told she couldn't conceive, otherwise she would be putting her life in danger. Lesley later delivered Monica's son, Alan Quartermain Jr. Monica, however, told Lesley that the child was Rick's. After Lesley confronted Rick, he left Port Charles to think about his feelings for both Lesley and Monica. It's just like a man. I'm in the middle of all this chaos. Let me skip down.
That he created.
Right.
I mean, they had their own equal parts, too. But especially after your wife delivers your lover's baby.
Yeah.
Maybe give her a little grace.
After Alan Jr. developed a heart problem, Rick was called back to Port Charles to perform surgery on him. Rick then filed a paternity suit against Monica as he wanted Alan Jr. to be his son. Lesley later filed for divorce so that Rick could marry Monica and have a family with Alan Jr.
By the way, that's A.J. Quartermain.
Yes.
They just called him Alan Jr.
Right. However, a birthmark revealed that Alan Jr. was in fact a Quartermain. Okay.
Are birthmarks genetic? Because I don't have one, but both of my kids do, and I don't think their dad does. Hold on.
I don't know. You go ahead and look that up.
I am.
Rick then ended things with Monica and left Port Charles once again. Rick later returned and immediately remarried Lesley and adopted a 6-year-old boy named Mike. Lesley and Rick then began working at the Waterfront Sports Center, where Lesley taught an aerobic dance class and even booked Richard Simmons to help her in a guest stint.
Fun! So do you want to know about the...
Yeah, go ahead.
So the occurrence of birthmarks may be inherited. Some marks may be similar to marks on other family members, but most are not. So if he had, like, a Q on his butt, and that's hereditary...
Like the Cabbage Patch Kids. There's a stamp
right,
on
or,
the
like,
butt.
branded or something, you know?
Right.
Okay, but anyway, I guess it is possible that certain birthmarks are hereditary. I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
I don't know that I would take that over, like, a paternity test, though. That's a little
No.
odd. When Laura disappeared in 1982, Lesley was crushed but soon received a new arrival under her roof by the name of Blackie Parrish.
A.K.A. John Stamos.
They welcomed the street kid into the Webber home after Blackie's mother had died. Blackie soon entered the music business, and Rick and Lesley then noticed a change in his behavior. They discovered Blackie accidentally killed his girlfriend. Oh my God! And was arrested. Blackie was found guilty and sentenced to time in prison. Everyone just keeps accidentally killing everyone.
Rick and Lesley were later overjoyed when Laura was revealed to be alive after being kidnapped by the Cassadines. But tragedy would soon strike the Webber family again. A young woman named Ginny Blake came to town claiming to be little Mike Webber's biological mother. Lesley was tipped off by Bobby Spencer that Ginny was running a scam and went to Ginny begging for her to confess, but Ginny refused. She was last seen on screen going home with Rick. Off screen, she had an argument with D.L. Brock, who tried to blackmail Rick after he shut down his plant. One day, on the day she passed away, there was a bad storm in Port Charles. Lesley stayed at work. Chief Ramsey showed up at the Webbers' home to tell Rick some bad news about an accident and that Lesley had died. So this whole thing happened off screen?
That's awful.
Like, they didn't even show her driving and then, like, wiping out. Like, she just went home and then we get a phone call that she died in a snowstorm. What? At the same time, her body showed up at the ER as a crash victim, and Bobby was the first one to see her. Oh. Luke and Laura were in the Himalayas at the time, and Robert was unable to get a message about Lesley's passing. As revenge for what Laura did to the Cassadines, Helena had Stefan kidnap Lesley's body and keep her alive. That's what they did with Lulu when they kidnapped her, but Lulu was not presumed dead.
They need to find...
Was Lulu presumed dead? I think we just knew that she was kidnapped.
Yeah, I don't think that she was presumed dead because that was how they went looking for her.
Right.
And found her.
Right. Yep. So years later, it was revealed in 1996 that Lesley Webber was indeed alive and being held captive in a catatonic state by the Cassadines. Lesley and Laura were reunited, and with Luke's help, they faked their deaths to escape the Cassadines. Stefan Cassadine then blackmailed Laura into leaving town. Laura lied to Luke that her mother needed treatment in Switzerland and took Lulu with them. They returned a few months later. Lesley was deeply traumatized by her experience as a result and was unable to practice medicine again. With the help of her family, she did, however, ease into her new role as grandmother to Laura's children, Nicholas, Lucky, and Lulu, while continuing to be a mother to Laura. In 2002, Rick Webber returned to give his daughter Laura away again at her second wedding to Luke Spencer. Rick and Lesley reunited for the first time in over a decade. She confided in him how angry she was from having years stolen away by her captivity. However, she was happy that Rick was able to move on with his life. Soon after his arrival, Laura began having flashbacks involving their old garage attic. I remember this! Mm-hmm. Including wearing a dress covered in blood. Rick and Scott Baldwin, could tell that Laura was remembering and tried to prevent the truth from coming out. Because this is when she went in her catatonic state.
Yes.
It was revealed years ago during his marriage to Lesley that Rick was having an affair with the nurse, Teresa Carter, and Laura walked in on them in the attic. Teresa got violent, and Laura took an antique camera and hit Teresa over the head with it, accidentally killing her. 2 kills for Laura. Rick enlisted Scott to bury Teresa in the backyard and gave Laura... Geez, Scotty! and gave Laura a certain drug for her to forget that night. Laura went up to the attic to remember the truth the day before the wedding. She believed that Rick had killed Teresa. When Rick tried to give her an injection to calm her down, Laura panicked and hit Rick over the head, killing him. I so remember all this.
It needs to say accidentally killing him.
Yes.
That's what they put.
She did accidentally kill him. Luke followed Laura and Rick to the attic where he discovered Laura over Rick's body. Luke then whisked Laura away into hiding. Lucky and Nicholas found Rick's body and tried to make his death look like a drunk driving accident.
Oh my God.
Laura had a severe mental break by the traumatic revelation that she had killed her stepfather and was institutionalized. I'm sorry, I sound so excited about this, but I can seriously see it in my head as I'm reading it. Lesley was devastated by Rick's death and Laura's mental collapse. With Luke showing little interest in his daughter, Lesley was left to raise young Lulu with the help of her 2 grandchildren, Nicholas and Lucky. When Heather Webber returned to Port Charles in 2004, Lesley was immediately suspicious of her. Heather had become obsessed with Luke Spencer and began her old scheming. Heather spiked Lesley's drink, causing her to be hospitalized. Afterwards, Heather convinced Bobby Spencer to let her move into the Spencer house to care for Lulu. I don't remember that.
And why would Bobby let that happen?
Right. Why wouldn't Bobby take Lulu? That's her niece.
Exactly.
Fortunately, Lesley recovered and Heather was later institutionalized.
I was just blown away. I'm sorry.
So that is 3 kills for Laura. 2 kills for Lesley here? Was it 2? Or just the 1?
Just the 1 because she was just hoping to cover up the other one.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. In 2005, Lesley and now a teenage Lulu attended the wedding of Lucky and Elizabeth Spencer. Lulu grew up to be quite the rebel.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Lesley tried her best, but just couldn't handle the teen. Luke would occasionally pop into Lulu's life to take her fishing and spend the occasional holiday with her, but for the most part, he remained a stranger to her. Lesley decided it was time for Luke to be a real father and sent Lulu to the Quartermain mansion where Luke was living and forced Luke to take a more active role in his daughter's life. I don't feel like that's true. That just forced Tracy to take an active role in her life.
But it was what Lulu needed.
Yes.
So
Lesley was overjoyed in 2006 when her daughter Laura made a temporary recovery from her catatonia. When Luke decided to give Laura the wedding of her dreams, Lesley was not thrilled at the idea of lying to her daughter, as Luke was already married to Tracy Quartermain.
But it was to celebrate Luke and Laura's 25th wedding anniversary.
Exactly.
And it was beautiful.
And was he technically even married to Tracy at that time?
They were, yeah.
That one of the times they weren't really.
I think that they were.
Okay. However, in time, Lesley realized she only wanted her daughter to be happy and later decided to support Luke's decision. Lesley attended Lucky and Elizabeth's second wedding in March 2007. They got married that close together?
Yeah. No, I was having the same.
Oh, I thought you meant,
No.
it was that close. And I was like, really?
No, I was doing
like
2005, and then they divorced real quick, and then got really quickly remarried.
Wow.
Okay.
I mean, I guess if you know it's love, it's love. And returned later that year to comfort her grandson, Nicholas, after his fiance's death.
And that was Emily. In 2008, Laura came out of
Emily's been gone that long.
I know.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. That's why I just clicked on it, because I was like, wait, was he engaged to someone I didn't realize? No. Oh my goodness, it's been 12 years.
That's insane.
No. Okay. So in 2008, Laura came out of catatonia for good, but was quickly kidnapped by Scott Baldwin. How did he keep a legal career? I am so serious, though. He's hidden bodies. He's kidnapped. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Okay. Lesley assisted Lucky, Lulu, and Nicholas in finding her location by remembering where Scott and Laura went on their honeymoon. Lesley later shared a tearful reunion with her daughter once again. Lesley Webber's last appearance before a 4.5-year absence was in October 2009 when she attended Lucky and Elizabeth's engagement party. When Laura returned to Port Charles in 2013, she reveals Lesley has been living in Italy with her grandsons Nicholas and Spencer. Lesley returns to Port Charles in May 2013, along with Spencer, to visit Laura and her grandson Nicholas. She highly objects to her daughter's coming nuptials to Scott Baldwin, so that's third marriage to him, due to him being responsible for the death of her late husband, Rick Webber.
And the fact that he just kidnapped her.
I mean, that should be something. However, she is persuaded to give her blessing, and she even officiated the wedding after Mayor Janice Lomax is revealed to be too booked. On December 22nd, 2017, Laura and Kevin are at a church waiting to get married with Dante, Lulu, Maxie, and Nathan in attendance, and the minister couldn't make it due to his wife giving birth. Lulu spots Laura's mom, Lesley, coming in. Dante asks how Lesley got to the church as the roads are closed and there are no flights. Lesley explained that she had a close friend who is a storm chaser, because we all do. Yep. He flew her to the city, but they had to... Oh, gosh. But they had to rent an all-terrain vehicle, much like the one you hear in the background, possibly, to get to the church from the airport. Lulu asked who this person is, and Lesley clarifies he is her pilot. He is the pilot, her boyfriend, Marcello. I forgot about this. Yes. Marcello comes in and introduces himself to everyone in Italian. Lulu wants Lesley to marry Laura and Kevin, but Kevin says that since Lesley married Laura and Scott, they want to start fresh. Marcello talks to Lesley, and she translates that he has married American couples in Italy before.
Of course he has.
And can't. I mean, he's a storm chaser who marries people. The storm chasing officiant. That's the next reality show.
Right?
Nathan checks Marcello's license and says it's in order. Maxie says that the wedding is a go, but as Marcello doesn't speak a word of English, Lesley will have to translate. After they are married, Dante is alerted that the roads are closed, so they will have to stay in the church overnight. And on April 2nd, 2019, Lesley returned for the 56th anniversary of General Hospital.
That was quite a year.
Wow.
Quite a year there. And then most recently, Lesley Webber made an unexpected return on January 8th, 2021. It began with Cyrus and Laura arguing at the hospital about who is at fault for the bombing at the Floating Rib and about Florence Gray, Cyrus's mother's well-being. Laura scoffs that Jason has your mother, I'm sure she's fine, but Cyrus rejects this as unacceptable. Laura doesn't care, however, and isn't interested in what Cyrus finds acceptable or unacceptable, angrily suggesting that once Lulu is healed enough, send any of his complaints to Laura through Lulu, once Laura is in the condition to handle it. That's like a way too long sentence to say all that. And annoyed Cyrus maintains he's played no part in the bombing at the Floating Rib, but Laura insists that she knows that he did, angrily, tempestuously mentioning, why did I write this like this?
Let's just skip down to Lesley. Angrily, tempestuously mentioning.
Thank you.
It should be one or the other.
Yeah.
Tempestuously mentioning that he's indirectly responsible for the killing of 2 people and leaving Lulu in a comatose. Boom.
Right.
That is a very tough sentence.
We also just talked about this the other day.
We did.
So they're standing in front of the elevators arguing, and we said, I don't know why Lesley just all of a sudden showed up. And Laura even says, we were supposed to see each other whenever we went to go see Lulu. And then she gets into it with Cyrus, and he calls her all kind of nasty.
He calls her a tramp.
And she comes right back at him and is like, yeah, I'm not sure I remember your father because I was just hooking up with so many married men back then. Be a little more clear.
Right.
And it was great, and I loved it.
It was so good. She was spunky. She was sassy. And she was no nonsense. She was like,
Right.
I
may be an older lady, but I do not have to put up with your crap. I'm going to put you in your place.
And apparently she did not sleep with many a married man.
Well, that's good. I would hope that she was just...
But she still said it. Just to be...
She did it, just to be a jerk, because he was being a jerk.
I loved it.
Yes.
I really enjoyed this.
I enjoyed it, but some of these years are a little crazy. Like, the whole wedding...
I feel like we need to watch this, though. Like, we need to, at some point, be able to watch her in the 70s.
No, because our list of who we're going to have to talk about next is going to grow 10 times
so
over.
Much. Listen, this podcast has no end date, and we have 58 years of stuff to get through. So,
okay,
we just need some sponsors And if you would like to contribute on Patreon to us doing all the research and delivering this information to you, that would be awesome.
There you go.
Little plug, but in all seriousness, that would be so cool if that was like our full-time jobs.
Yes.
I would probably still stay in real estate though, because I really enjoy it. But
there you go.
It would be so much fun. And then, so all it says under her crimes committed is had an extramarital affair with her medical professor, Gordon Gray. Is that a crime?
It's not a crime.
While he was married, which produced their child, Laura Webber. Health vitals. She was raped by Cameron Faulkner. That was her husband. I'm not saying that husbands cannot rape wives, but they didn't say that. So that's horrible.
That is horrible. And I feel like they should have said that. But it kind of made sense with his personality whenever she said he refused this, he refused that.
Right. But I feel like that would have been pertinent during all that, like, and that's why she left, or...
Maybe that was part of the whole baby storyline. Like, he wanted a baby, so he raped her. And it didn't work out.
That's not how that... No.
I mean, it's not how it should go.
I know.
But I just wonder if that's how she ended up pregnant then.
Oh, I don't like any of that. Nope. She was injured in a car accident, presumed to be dead.
I can't believe that was off screen.
And I know. And held captive. Well, so was Luke's avalanche. That was on screen. Mm-hmm. But he was presumed dead then, too.
Yes.
Held captive by the Cassadines in a catatonic state. Same time.
Right.
So we hope that you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Lesley Webber. And if last week or this month was the first time that you've ever seen her, welcome.
Yes.
She's awesome.
I love how spunky she is, and that they never made her lose that. Every time that I've seen her, and no matter what her age is, she still can just, like, give it.
Yep.
Love it.
And you're absolutely right, because the one thing that stands in my mind is when Gail passed away, and they did the anniversary episode with the scavenger hunt, and she and Monica are in the lockers. Like, they were in the locker room, like, arguing about Rick.
Right. Because I always think of Elizabeth's grandma, and as she's aged, they've made her like the grandma.
Right.
Like, and she used to have spunk too, but they never showed that as she got older.
Right.
It was, all she does is watch the kids. That's the grandma. So I'm glad that Lesley is like, no. I may be the grandma, but I
can still take you on.
Yeah.
Love it. So join us on Monday as we talk about this week's episodes.
Have a good weekend.
And we'll meet you at the pier.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to go to pier54podcast.com to subscribe on your favorite platform. Don't forget to leave us a review. And you can also follow us on many social media channels. Just search for Pier 54 Podcast. Also, we are not perfect, so if there is something that we missed or messed up, just let us know by emailing us at pier54podcast@gmail.com.